Okay, so number 4, we're creating this method called find range. And it says the method accepts an array of floats that is sorted from least to greatest. So hard part's kind of done for us already. It'd be a little bit tougher if we had it, if they weren't in order. But they are in order from least to greatest. Delete all this. And we want to find this method that finds the range. Okay, so kind of talked about it before. I can have the largest number in the data set. Remember, it's assumed to be in order. Is going to be the last number in the data set. So, and here it's called data set. Okay, so I'm taking data set of, and then the last index, remember how we talked about it in the previous video, is that the last index is always one less than the length. Data, for an example, the one we actually try it on, has a length of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's got 7 numbers in it. But the indices start at 0, so they go from 0 to 6. So when you take the length 7 minus 1, you get 6. That's the last. And then the min, it's just the first. Right? So it's at index 0. And return max minus min. So we should get 15.8 because I'm looking at the biggest is 17.8, the smallest is 2. And here I'm printing that, calling that method find range of data. So it should be 15.8. Yep. We just get a little round off error for floats that happens, but that's it, 15.8. Okay, and then the last one, or last of the practice problems, is called find minimum. Oh, and this is, oh, okay. It's also showing another way to create an array. So let's see. All right, so we are trying to create the method find minimum. These numbers are not in order. Or find maximum, excuse me. Okay. So we're creating this method that accepts an array of ints, and it's going to return back the largest of them. Okay, so there's a couple of ways you can do this. One common mistake that people would do, which is still a pretty good idea, is they would do something like int max equals 0, like kind of making it set to be a really low value, and iterating through all the numbers in the loop, and then whenever a current number is larger than the maximum, you set that to be the maximum. All right, so it's like 3 is bigger than 0, yes, so 3 becomes the maximum. 8 is bigger than 3, so 8 becomes the maximum. 5 is not bigger than 8, so 8 stays the maximum. 7 is not bigger than 8, so 8 stays the maximum. 6 is not bigger than 8, so 8 stays the maximum. So it just works like that. The only problem with creating max equal to 0 is, what if all these values were negative? Then 0 would be the maximum, and it's not in the data set. So you might be thinking that's kind of a rare exception, but we want to be complete, right? So one way to get around that is to set the maximum to a very, very low, or let's say big, negative number. And there's like you could do something like this, integer.min value. That's the smallest value that ints can take on. It's around negative 2 to the 32nd power or something like that. The way that I like to do it is I like to set the max to be array 0, or I guess it'd be number 0. So whatever is in this array, I'm going to let the first value in the array be the maximum. It could potentially end up being the maximum. But then I'm going to iterate through. I really should start at 1, right? Because I don't need to check to see if the 0th value is bigger than the current maximum, because it is the maximum. So I start at 1, iterate as long as I is less than numbers.length. And then we can just say, well, if numbers I, remember numbers I is going to be every number in the array, starting with the second value in the list. If it's bigger than the current maximum, then I'm going to let the current maximum become numbers of I. Right? So this checks all the values, so it sets it to be the first. So for this example, it would let 3 be the maximum. It would check all the other ones, and if the current value is bigger than the current maximum, it would set the maximum to be that current value. So really it would happen when I equals 1, 8's bigger than 3, max becomes 8. And then for all the other passes through the array, you would check the value against 8, and it's not bigger than 8. So 8 stays the maximum. Okay, so this should return 8, which is the highest number in the array.